Greetings, YouTube. Tuesdays are generally sometimes slow days in the Marvel Casino of Champions community. Now, don't get me wrong, there's always videos I can make and record. I have 1,000+ crystal opening commentaries that are unrecorded. Everything from 6-star featured openings, gauntlet openings, 5 and 6-star openings, birthday openings, you name it. So, with that being said, I don't want to just put crystal opening commentaries on the channel. While I enjoy doing that, you want to be diverse about the content you put in. You don't want it to just be boring. And so I was kind of hoping there was some news. Now, there is technically two other things worth noting of news worth to me. And shout out to my man Brian Shadow Strike, who always keeps me updated behind the scenes on these things. The first is that we had one of those rare arenas that had just about the same cutoff for both the 6-star featured and 6-star basic arena this past arena cycle, which is fascinating because the second piece of information, the more newsworthy piece of information that is directly tied to the idea that both arenas could be a similar score, but in this case way more, is that we have both the Anti-Venom arena on Thursday and the 6-star basic at the same time of Anti-Venom is my man Omega Red. Now, if it wasn't Anti-Venom, we could see a higher basic score than a featured score. So I'm going to be very curious how that data works out. I'm going to be very excited on Sunday to make a video on the results of that. I was told, understandably, for days and even weeks, ever since there was a leak that Omega Red was going to be in the arena, that I should take off work and grind for him. And I said, no, I don't have the time. I can't do it. And then the Kabam gods gave him to me anyway for essentially free as a gold trade, of which gold I'll never even notice is gone. With that being said, the main source, now that I covered those topics, don't have to do a separate video on it, and if somebody says, Prof, why haven't you commented on it, I'll send them a link to this video and say, watch the beginning, is the disdain and disappointment, and other words that would not make it appropriately onto a family-friendly channel, for the Guillotine buff. Some of you think Guillotine's been nerfed. You think she is a shell of what you used to love about her, particularly with the regeneration. Now, we've also seen people submit videos to this channel, some of which I've featured, some of which I haven't, that think people are just playing her wrong. And if they used her correctly, they'd realize she has been buffed a crazy amount, particularly with damage. But it kind of reminds me of the Hood buff. If you're used to using a champion and they have a specific amount of utility in certain situations, Guillotine for a long time was the go-to choice for the Realm of Legends Wolverine fight with that reverse heal. If you're used to doing that with a champion and then you don't get the same utility, you don't care about damage suddenly. It just feels like that champion is, not what you hoped they would be. And so, big man on campus on this thread, after seeing the comment, after all the hype and expectations about the community champion choice winner, the overhaul done is on her is somewhat seems like aspects of a nerf. Less healing, almost the same damage. Great job. Why bother to make us choose a champion to be buffed for this kind of work? This really reflects the state of the game right now. By the way, Katie Candy was bringing this up in regards to why we should be thankful Ant-Man wasn't touched, because you don't want to lose the synergy bonus with Ghost or other utility aspects that make that champion what they are. Yes, they could be better, but be careful what you wish for. Sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. There's just more grass. So, big man on campus says, yeah, this is really sad. I jumped the gun and rank 3'd her before the buff came out, anticipating something insane. I won't make that mistake again. And that is brutal. That is absolutely brutal to read that and hear that. Triple B says, there is a bug for Guillotine. Her ability states that when unshackled, her special attacks are passively unblockable. However, when she throws a special 1 or special 2, she spends 10 souls in place the horrible Pain Link debuff, or to further her Spectre, which cancels the unblockable. You can throw a special and see the passive unblockable pop up for a split second, but it doesn't linger. Basically what this means is she's supposed to have an unblockable special, but due to her own abilities countering herself, she doesn't actually have unblockable specials. And Triple B, there was a lot of words in that post, but I think that's a pretty astute observation personally. JP with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nines types something I can't read. But this is what is pretty important about this. Kabam Zibbit says, hey there, I just wanted to thank those of you who have taken the time to give their constructive thoughts. feedback and suggestions and assure them that they are being passed along to the rest of the community for review, along with other data that is being gathered. Now, this is newsworthy because when the community was up in arms about Hood, they posted on the forums a similar response. I really wish this is one of those posts that Kabam Mike could just copy and paste into his responses, because there's no passive aggressiveness. It's just a nice worded, like, neutral tone response that I enjoy actually reading. I think what might happen, because they did spend a lot of time on this guillotine buff, even if the community largely hates it, I can see them doing what they did with Hood, reverting the champion back to where they were before, and then maybe doing a second, potentially, but probably not, beta test to make sure the champion's buff is more in line with what people were expecting. This is just making the people who think this entire thing is fixed for Ant-Man that much more angry, though. But I said it already in this video, and I'll say it again. Do not assume, just because they said they'd buff Ant-Man, that they aren't going to nerf aspects of him that make him what you like about him to begin with. There is a risk with this entire process, for sure. Okay. Also, I've passed this along to the rest of the team so they can take a look into this with the unblockable. Maverick says there was a balance change. There's no buff here. The biggest buff Guy had is the crit bleed synergy with Purgatory. That alone is better than this buff. What was done with Hood should be done with Guillotine. Revert to her old self until an adequate buff can be created for the champ that summoners voted and completed that tedious arena for. A little jab at the arena process. Compounding the disappointment is the fact that Kabam have continued to reduce buffs per month, suggesting these type of situations would and could be avoided. And then we'll take it back to that first page as well with... Because this is, by the way, this is a direct response to what was at first hype, then disappointment, and then ultimately, when you scroll down, you see there's this gap between September 27th and October 3rd, which I think was about the time that people started to download the new patch and play her out. So excited about this. I have Guillotine as a 6-star. Bleed Curse debuff is stacking right now, and you can place a guaranteed bleed for each of these debuffs with 3 or more of them. Special 2, is that correct? I already changed my mind about her buff. So you buffed her, and now without crit damage bonus or souls for 6-star 235, Guillotine can do critical bleeds of 1800 instead of old weak version of her. Awesome work. Thanks a lot. Okay, so here we go. After all the hype and expectations about the community champion choice winner, the overhaul done in her somewhat aspect of a nerf. Okay, so and this is, of course, as he said at the end of this really reflects the state of the game right now. So Guillotine could and probably should be the new Hood. People don't like her buff. Certainly more people aren't using her than they thought would be. And I did take her to rank 2 as a 6-star and have some regrets about that. Really wish a rank down ticket, remember those things, existed for this situation. Let's hope that not only is the buff not done, but that the community gets the champion they voted for and deserve. I know Kabam spent a lot of time on this, and Kabam Broccoli really opened my eyes up to how much work goes into these buffs. So it's not like this was a 5-minute adventure. It's not even a 5-day, it might not even be a 5-month adventure. But it did not land on the mark. Kabam realizes that. The best thing to do is go back to the drawing board and come up with something worthy of the champion buff choice that we all voted for. And some voted for Guillotine.